The cargo hauler drifted silently through the debris field, its engines cold, as if the universe itself had forgotten it existed, and that was exactly why Ethan Cole noticed it. Most people ignored dead ships. Ethan had never been. Most people. He slowed his scrappy little shuttle, squinting through the viewport at the shattered hull plates, the flickering emergency lights, and the faint life signal blipping like a dying heartbeat. It wasn't the signal itself that made him stare. It was the fact that the signal was moving. Barely. Someone inside was alive, and crawling. Great! Ethan muttered, rubbing his temples. I left Earth to avoid trouble, and trouble still sends me invitations in the mail. He hooked his shuttle to the derelict ship and stepped through the breach, flashlight cutting through smoke and sparks. The interior looked like a blender had swallowed a star and spat it back out. But there, wedged between two collapsed bulkheads, was a small figure with lavender skin, tremoring hands, and wide golden eyes filled with pain. An alien. Young. Injured. And alone. Hey, Ethan said gently, crouching beside him. You alive, little dude? The alien hissed at him, which was impressive, considering he could barely breathe. Go away. That's rude. I come all this way to rescue you, and you tell me to leave? I'm hurt. You can't help. The alien winced, curling in on himself. They abandoned me for a reason. Oh great, Ethan muttered. A cryptic backstory. My favorite. Still, he carefully pried the fallen metal off the alien's legs. The kid screamed, grabbing Ethan's collar with surprising strength. Why? The alien spat. Why risk your life? You don't even know me. Ethan shrugged. I'm human. Saving people is what we do. Often to our own inconvenience. The alien stared at him as if he'd confessed to being a mythical creature. I am R.H. Wykes, he whispered. Of the Veiltheri. Ethan blinked. Wait, the species known for telekinetic precision and absolutely legendary grudge holding? R.H. Wykes nodded weakly. Yes. And my clan left me here. Broken. Useless. Pretty dramatic of them, Ethan said, hoisting R.H. Wykes over his shoulder. Lucky for you, humans are known for liking dramatic cases. R.H. Wykes stiffened. No! If they find you with me, they'll. A metallic groan shook the corridor. Ethan froze. R.H. Wykes' eyes widened in terror. Them, R.H. Wykes whispered. A cluster of sleek, obsidian drones glided through the smoke, Veiltheri cleansing drones, programmed to erase discarded failures. R.H. Wykes wasn't supposed to live long enough for anyone to rescue him. Ethan muttered. Well, this explains the tension. The drones scanned the corridor, and the moment they saw Ethan carrying R.H. Wykes, their eyes glowed red. Target, unauthorized biological interference. One droned. Ethan rolled his eyes. Seriously? You abandon the kid and then get mad when someone else tries to pick up the pieces? He drew his plasma cutter, not a weapon, just a tool, though in Ethan's hands, tools had a habit of becoming weapons anyway. The drones extended their blades. R.H. Wykes trembled. Leave me. They want me gone. You have no stake in this. Buddy, Ethan said as he fired a crude but effective burst at the nearest drone. I am the human species. Chaos is our stake. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks. R.H. Wykes stared at him in disbelief. You fight, without hesitation? Ethan dodged a sweeping blade. Trust me, hesitation is usually where I get stabbed. 3 more drones closed in. Ethan ducked under one, slammed another into a wall, and used the third as a stepping point to flip backward, landing with R.H. Wykes still in his arms. R.H. Wykes' voice shook. They will not stop. Not until I am gone. Well, Ethan grunted, sprinting down the corridor. Then we'll just have to keep not dying. The ship groaned again. Fire spread across the ceiling. Ethan burst back into the docking hatch and sealed it behind him as the drones carved through the door. He gently laid R.H. Wykes on a medcot. You good? No, R.H. Wykes whispered. But I am alive. You made that so. And I plan to keep it that way, Ethan replied, already prepping the shuttle for emergency launch. RHYX stared at him, confusion and awe mixing into something new. You are strange. Thanks. Humans practice that. But as the shuttle tore away from the doomed hauler, RHYX's expression changed, fear fading into something heavier, sharper, almost dangerous. You don't understand, he murmured. My clan hates weakness. They will not forgive this. They will chase us across the stars. Ethan cracked his knuckles. Let them. The galaxy already thinks humans are crazy. Might as well live up to expectations. RHYX looked at him as if a new destiny had just attached itself to his fate. They abandoned me, he said softly. But you picked me up. And now we're both in trouble. Ethan agreed cheerfully. RHYX's golden eyes glimmered in the dim cabin lights, not with fear, but with the first spark of hope he'd felt since being left for dead. Little did Ethan know, saving one broken alien would shatter destinies across the galaxy. The moment RHYX opened his eyes again, he realized two things. First, he was no longer dying, and second, Ethan had tied him to the medcot. It's for your own good, Ethan said from the cockpit, as if discussing something completely normal. You kept trying to stand up, and every time you did, you nearly passed out. I'm running low on med gel, so you're staying put. RHYX tugged at the straps weakly. Veilthari do not get tied down. Well, humans do, Ethan replied. Especially when they're being stubborn. Which, congratulations, you mastered instantly. RHYX scowled, though it took more effort than he'd admit. Your species is infuriating. And yours thinks abandoning injured children is normal. Ethan snapped back. So guess which one of us is winning the moral high ground today? RHYX opened his mouth, then closed it. That shut him up for a good 10 seconds, a new personal record. Before he could argue again, the ship's console chimed sharply. Ethan's casual posture vanished. He leaned forward, frowning at the screen. RHYX recognized the symbols on the display. His blood turned cold. A Veilthari war spear. Fast. Deadly. And closing in. They found us, RHYX whispered. Ethan swore under his breath. Either they're tracking you, or they're tracking me. Don't ruin the suspense, let's assume it's both. RHYX's pulse raced. Turn around. Leave me on the nearest asteroid. They want me, not you. Oh, that's cute, Ethan muttered. You think I'm the sort of guy who drops kids off on rocks to get hunted. I'm not a child, RHYX protested. I am almost of trialing age. How old is that in human years? 15. Yeah, kid, RHYX hissed in annoyance. But the argument died as a beam of blue light shot past the shuttle, barely skimming the hull. The war spear was not warning them, it was trying to cripple them. Ethan yanked the controls, and the shuttle dove into the asteroid field nearby. Massive rocks drifted lazily, shadows stretching like ancient giants. Ethan flew between them with a confidence that made RHYX's stomach twist. You are going to get us killed! You keep saying that, Ethan replied, weaving through a cluster of boulders. Yet here we are. Still extremely not dead. That ship will tear us apart. Not if these rocks tear it apart first. RHYX blinked. You plan to hide behind floating stones? I plan to make the universe question its life choices, Ethan corrected. The war spear fired again, a beam slicing an asteroid in half. The explosion sent shards spinning toward the shuttle. Ethan twisted the controls with reckless skill, the shuttle flipping between deadly debris. RHYX clung to the cot with trembling hands. Humans are insane! Yeah, well, sanity is overrated. Another shot barreled toward them, grazing the wing. The shuttle groaned in protest. RHYX felt guilt twist inside him. If I hadn't survived, if you hadn't found me, none of this danger would follow you. Ethan smirked. RHYX, if destiny sends trouble to my doorstep, I don't hide. I make it regret the trip. RHYX didn't understand how one human could speak with such reckless confidence. His own people valued perfection, order, discipline. Ethan seemed to value improvisation and spite. A small alarm began flashing: temperature spike, engine strain, structural stress. Ethan muttered. Expected that. You expected the ship to fall apart? I expected everything to go wrong. That's why I always keep Plan Weird in my pocket. RHYX dared to ask. What is Plan Weird? Ethan grinned. Oh, you're going to hate it. With a deliberate flick of the controls, Ethan steered them directly toward the largest asteroid in the field, a monstrous chunk of spinning rock almost a kilometer across. RHYX's heart nearly burst out of his chest. You intend to crash us? Of course not. Crashing is sloppy. We're going to slide. What? Ethan dropped the shuttle into a steep descent, skimming along the asteroid's surface. Dust and fragments erupted around them as they scraped a shallow trench across the rock. The war spear followed, firing relentlessly, but each beam scattered against the uneven terrain, losing precision. Ethan shouted, Brace! For what? RHYX yelled. For the part where physics gets confused. Ethan hit the boosters. The shuttle shot off the asteroid's edge, using the debris cloud behind them as camouflage. The war spear overshot the asteroid, unable to adjust in time. RHYX stared out the window in stunned silence. You tricked them. No, Ethan said, panting slightly. I confused them. Big difference. But the moment lasted only seconds. The scanner beeped again, another Veilthari signal. Then another. A fleet was arriving. RHYX's voice trembled. They deployed hunters, for me? Ethan looked over his shoulder, eyes narrowing with something fiercer than anger, sharper than fear. RHYX, he said quietly. What exactly did you do? I failed, RHYX whispered. That is enough for them. Ethan exhaled slowly. Well, that settles it then. Settles what? Ethan tightened the flight harness, jaw set with stubborn human fire. That we're not running anymore. RHYX's breath caught. What? No! You cannot fight an entire Veilthari pursuit fleet! Watch me. RHYX stared at the human, realizing something terrifying and wonderful. Ethan was not just saving him. He was choosing him. And the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The fleet emerged from the void like a row of gleaming daggers, sleek Veilthari interceptors fanning out in perfect formation, their engines burning cold blue. RHYX felt the air in his lungs freeze. These weren't cleansing drones. These weren't patrol ships. These were hunters, elite enforcers of his people, pilots trained from childhood to eliminate imperfections. And they had come for him. Ethan, however, leaned back in the pilot's chair as if he had just parked in front of a grocery store. Well, they brought friends, he said cheerfully. I always wanted to test myself against an impossible number of highly trained maniacs. RHYX's voice cracked. Ethan, this is not the moment for humor. You're right, Ethan agreed. It's the moment for bad decisions. Before RHYX could argue, Ethan angled the shuttle toward the nearest hunter ship. You're charging them? RHYX shrieked, gripping the sides of the cot. Of course not, Ethan said. Charging implies a plan. This is improvisation with extra spice. 3 hunter ships peeled off from the formation, their weapons arming. RHYX felt every instinct in his body scream hide. Every lesson he'd ever learned told him to avoid humiliation, avoid confrontation, avoid failing again. But Ethan flew straight at them anyway. The hunters opened fire, precise, immaculate beams that sliced through space like surgical blades. Ethan dodged the first blast by rolling, ducked the second by diving, and avoided the third by shutting the engines off entirely and letting the shuttle fall. RHYX had never made a sound like the one that escaped him. Relax, Ethan said calmly, flicking switches. It's called a freefall drift. Perfect for confusing enemies and terrifying passengers. It is working, RHYX gasped. Ethan reignited the engines, spinning them sideways. A hunter ship shot past, overshooting completely. Ethan clipped its wing with a well-timed strike of the shuttle's stabilizer, sending it careening off balance. The second ship fired again. Ethan threw the shuttle into a corkscrew, the blast grazing their tail. Sparks erupted behind them. RHYX winced. Our hull will not survive this for long. That's fine. We just need it to survive long enough for my next terrible idea. The third hunter ship surged forward, its weapons glowing bright white, overcharged mode. It intended to vaporize them in one clean shot. Ethan muttered, "They're really committing to the bit." He pulled the shuttle alongside a spinning rock fragment left over from the asteroid they'd scraped earlier. The fragment tumbled through space like a drunk meteor. RHYX blinked. "You cannot be serious." "I'm extremely serious," Ethan said. "This rock is our shield." The hunter ship fired. Ethan shoved the shuttle upward, positioning the rock directly in the beam's path. The blast hit it dead on, shattering it into a storm of glowing shards. The shards slammed into the hunter ship with brutal force, knocking it into a wild spiral. RHYX stared, slack-jawed. "You used their own precision against them." Ethan winked. "Humans call that recycling." But the victory was brief. The rest of the fleet broke formation and began converging. Dozens of ships. All aimed at them. RHYX's stomach sank. "Ethan, there are too many." "Yeah," Ethan said quietly. "Now it feels like a real fight." He glanced at RHYX, really looked at him. "You okay?" "I am terrified." "Good. Fear means your heart's working. But listen," Ethan lowered his voice. "You're not a failure. You're not broken. And you're certainly not alone." RHYX swallowed hard. "Why do you believe that?" "Because I've been broken before," Ethan said simply. "And someone picked me up too." Before RHYX could ask more, an incoming transmission flashed onto the console. An image appeared, a tall Veilthari woman with silver tattoos glowing across her face. Her eyes were cold, sharp, merciless. RHYX flinched. "That is High Hunter Kaler. She is the enforcer of my clan." Kaler stared at Ethan with disdain. "Human. Release the creature you carry. It is defective. Its life is forfeit. Return it, and you may leave unharmed." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Wow. No greeting? No introduction? No sorry for sending an army after you? Your customer service is terrible." Kaler's expression didn't change. "You have 10 seconds. Ethan leaned closer to the screen. "No deal." RHYX's breath hitched. Kaler's jaw clenched. "Then you will die with the failure." Ethan shrugged. "Better than living as someone who abandons their own." Kaler cut the transmission. The fleet fired. Ethan jerked the controls. The shuttle dove downward, beams scorching past them so close RHYX felt the heat through the walls. "We cannot win!" RHYX cried. "This is not courage, it is suicide." "No," Ethan growled. "It's commitment. And if there's one thing humans are famous for, it's doing impossible things simply because someone told us we couldn't." RHYX felt something inside him shift, something deep, buried, scarred. For the first time since his clan had discarded him, he felt not shame, but defiance. "I want to help," he said suddenly. Ethan blinked. "You're injured." "I am Veilthari," RHYX insisted. "Telekinetic precision is our birthright. I can still aim." Ethan hesitated only a moment. "All right." "Aim for what?" RHYX closed his eyes, feeling the faint hum of energy in his blood. "They're stabilizers. Their formation depends on synchrony. Break the synchrony, and they fall apart," Ethan finished. RHYX stretched out a trembling hand. His fingers glowed faintly. Ethan whispered, "Do it." RHYX reached out with his mind, and the nearest hunter's ship jerked violently off course, slamming into another. Ethan whooped. "RHYX! That was awesome!" RHYX gasped, drained but burning with new purpose. Again. The fleet scrambled, trying to adjust. Ethan grinned, wild and fearless. Let's make them regret abandoning you. Together, one broken alien and one stubborn human, they dove straight into a storm of fire. The real battle had begun. Fire lit the void like a storm of shattered stars. RHYX felt every pulse of energy battering the shuttle, every vibration trembling through the hull, every sharp twist Ethan threw into their flight path. The hunters tightened formation, trying to rebuild their rhythm, but their urgency made them sloppy, and sloppy was something Ethan devoured. A beam sliced past. Another grazed the underside. The shuttle spun, engines roaring, and RHYX clung to the cot, sweat streaking his temple as he fought to stay conscious. Still with me? Ethan yelled over the alarms. RHYX exhaled shakily. Barely. That's enough. He pulled hard right, and 3 hunters followed, predictable, rigid, confident in their superiority. Ethan smirked, the kind of grin that said he was about to make the universe very confused. RHYX felt his stomach lurch as Ethan dropped them toward a fractured asteroid chunk drifting below. Not as big as the earlier one, this one was jagged, unstable, rotating unevenly. It looked like the worst possible place to fly. Naturally, Ethan flew straight at it. Your plans, RHYX gasped, are consistently questionable. Thanks. I tried to keep things interesting. He guided the shuttle inches above the asteroid fragment's spinning surface, matching its rotation just enough to maintain proximity. The hunters dove after them. RHYX knew this move. His clan had a saying for reckless tactics: ride the chaos, and chaos will ride you back. Ethan seemed immune to this wisdom. As the hunters closed in, Ethan veered sharply upward. The hunters adjusted, too late. The asteroid's jagged edge rose to meet them, and one clipped its wing, spiraling into debris. The second swerved, colliding with the third. RHYX blinked. That was beautiful. Recycling, Ethan reminded. But the victory was short-lived. High Hunter Kaler's ship descended through the chaos, her vessel larger, stronger, and armed with a weapon that crackled with energy along its spine. RHYX's blood chilled. That is her judgment cannon. It disintegrates matter on a molecular. A beam the width of a small building streaked past, slicing the asteroid fragment cleanly in two. Got it, Ethan muttered. Big laser. Avoid at all costs. Another blast fired, closer this time. The shockwave rattled the shuttle violently. Warning lights flared across the console like a festival of doom. RHYX concentrated, extending his trembling hand again. He reached for Kaler's ship, he pushed. Nothing. His vision blurred. His telekinesis flickered like a fading spark. I cannot, he whispered. I am too weak. Ethan didn't hesitate. He didn't blame him. He didn't even look back angrily. He simply said, voice solid as steel, "Then I'll take it from here." And he hurled the shuttle straight at Kaler. RHYX screamed. Ethan! You cannot! She will kill us! She might kill me, Ethan corrected. But she's not killing you. He aimed the shuttle toward a narrow cluster of drifting ship debris, a shattered Veiltheri hull from some long-lost battle. Metal hunks drifted in unpredictable patterns, forming a deadly labyrinth. Kaler followed. Her ship was bigger, heavier, more powerful, but less agile. Ethan dove between razor-sharp fragments with suicidal precision. Kaler tried to mirror his movements, firing at every turn. Ethan zigzagged, looped, twisted. He flew like he wanted physics to quit out of frustration. RHYX, gripping the cot, watched in awe. You are insane! Yep, Ethan said through gritted teeth. But sometimes crazy wins. Kaler fired again, slicing a path through the debris. Ethan banked hard left, nearly scraping the hull. At the center of the drifting wreckage was a huge chunk of ship plating, slowly rotating, cracked down the middle, a perfect reflective surface. Ethan aimed for it. Kaler fired one more time. The judgment beam blasted forward and hit the reflective plating dead on. RHYX's breath caught. The beam split, refracting into two wild arcs of energy. One whipped into nearby debris. The other struck Kaler's own ship, ripping across the underside in a blinding flash. Kaler's vessel lurched violently, its engines sputtering. She damaged herself, RHYX whispered. Ethan grinned, exhilarated. And that's what we call karma. Kaler's ship spiraled, not destroyed but severely compromised. Both of them watched as it struggled, flickering, drifting out of the wreckage cloud. The remaining hunters hesitated. Their formation wavered. They had never seen a high hunter wounded. Never seen her fail. Veilthari culture ran on perfection and hierarchy, two things now lying in ruins around them. RHYX sat frozen, stunned. She cannot command them like this. Her defeat, it disrupts the entire pursuit. Ethan tapped the console. Translation, we have a window. With a sharp burst of acceleration, the shuttle shot free of the debris swarm. The hunters did not follow. None wanted to approach Kaler after her humiliation. Silence settled into the cabin. Heavy. Disbelieving. RHYX felt tears prick his eyes. Ethan, you risked everything for a stranger. Ethan finally turned, meeting his gaze. You're not a stranger anymore, RHYX. The alien boy swallowed hard. If I had stayed with them, I would have been erased. Forgotten. I thought I had no worth. You have worth because you exist, Ethan said simply. Not because you're perfect. RHYX's voice broke. I do not know how to repay you. You don't, Ethan said. But if you really want to, then live. Grow. Become someone your old clan will wish they never abandoned. RHYX wiped his eyes, nodding slowly. I will. The shuttle drifted into open space, away from danger, toward a future unknown and unwritten. After a long moment, RHYX asked softly, Ethan, what happens now? Ethan cracked a smile. Now we go find someplace safe. A home, maybe. And after that, we decide what comes next. RHYX felt warmth bloom in his chest, not fear, not shame, but something new. Hope. He whispered. Thank you, Ethan. Ethan leaned back, hands behind his head. Kid, this is just the start. And as the stars stretched out before them, two unlikely souls, one abandoned, one stubborn, steered their broken shuttle into a destiny neither clan nor council could ever predict.